Hi everyone, welcome to the Rangers Reviews post-match debrief. It is Celtic 3, Rangers 1. Rangers not going to be in that Premier Sports Cup final. An eventful game for myself and Stevie Clifford to talk through events in terms of the football and events, not in terms of the football. Stevie, my initial thoughts on that is that it's a big missed opportunity. Largely because of how Rangers played with 10 men. Largely because I thought they didn't really seize and take the initiative and the narrative. And because of referee calls. What's your kind of presiding feeling after that? Disagree with me on any of those points?
No, I don't. I think sadly we're talking about things that we shouldn't be again. Talk about Rangers first of all, which is blew it in the first half big style. Yeah. It was a first half that was full of nerves, it was full of hesitance, and it was full of panic. There was no cohesion to the game. There was a lot of standing waiting. There was a lot of rabbit in the headlight performances, and that cost us. We go a goal down, it gets chopped off for offside, and we don't galvanise. And then somehow, even in that first half, we miss huge opportunities. Yeah. Chermiti has one in front of goal where he doesn't open his foot, he just squares it wide. If he opens his foot and just slides it in, Rangers are one up. He could go whatever he wanted, yeah. And then Nico Raskin goes 1-on-1. At that point, he misses it also. Chermiti has a chance for a free kick at the back post where he doesn't read and he doesn't get in on it. These are vital moments that we don't take. So the blame lies solely with Rangers. They go 1-0 down, and to be honest, it could have been more. Kenny, pace and directness terrorise Rangers, and that is a big issue. A big issue. So first half to go in 1-0, okay, you were fine with that because they were down to 10 men. Tello Asgard should go, and he does. But there's a huge moment which we'll talk about. And then the second half, Rangers galvanised. I thought James Tavernier was terrific. I thought he drove Rangers on wonderfully in the second half, Joshua. And then they grab their moment, they get the penalty kick, and then there's more to talk about in that moment as well. And they kind of die a death a wee bit, which you can understand because they're knackered. So they see it out to 94 minutes because they were camped in. Celtic put a couple over. Celtic hit the bar during the game. They missed chances. Jack Butland made some saves. Kept them in it. So with 10 men, you kind of expect that and you can come to terms with it. So overall, I think we were lucky to get to extra time, but deserved it because of the effort of the second half from a Rangers point of view. So, and then going into extra time, which we'll come to, but there's so much in that 90 that you're asking again, that there's decisions and things made that just don't make sense to me. But from a Rangers point of view, first half, no, we lost it there. Second half, very good.
Yeah, that'll be the frustration, I'm sure, for Danny Rule as much as anyone, that in that first period, and you're right, there's tons to come on to discuss, but in that first period, we spoke pre-match, I think, on some platform, yours or ours.
It was mine, huh?
Yes, where we said, look, this back four, this back five, Tavernier's there. That means that Rangers might try and shift into a back four and be aggressive. But we also said, I don't know if not starting Gassam is going to be a mistake because you don't really have the legs to get up the pitch. And what happened for me is, first and foremost, Rangers made it way too comfortable for Celtic. For a Celtic defence that when you actually put them under pressure, even with 10 men, I thought there was mistakes there to be had. I thought they were gettable, for want of a better phrase. So they don't press aggressively enough. Then for me, because of that, because they fall so deep in the pitch, they don't have the legs to get up the pitch. And again, even though you're at 10 men, because you have more ball carriers on the pitch, that helps in the second period. Yusuf Chermiti misses that big chance, but he also doesn't take them up the pitch enough. So I agree with you. It feels like a big sense of missed opportunity because, listen, Rangers still missed big chances themselves when they were a man down, but it took them going a man down to kick into gear. And for me, Stevie, that feels indicative of an issue that is bigger than this season, is way bigger than Danny Rule, but of this club failing to take the initiative, failing to kind of write their own narrative, and ultimately being too reactive. If we go into the second half, you're right, before that, Tello Asgard is sent off, rightly sent off, and again for me that's almost indicative, the way he is sent off, of Rangers' attacking approach, which is a bit chaotic, a bit all over the place, a bit unpredictable. He's turning when he puts those studs into Anthony Ralston's legs, but it's the correct sending off. For you, and I tweeted it myself, I couldn't believe that the same outcome didn't follow Austin Trusty when he seemed to kick Jack Butland's head. Because Butland had his two hands on the ball, there was no sending of the referee to the VAR monitor. That's a huge moment in this game, isn't it?
It's extraordinary for me. First of all, Asgard deserves to go. Absolutely no issue with that at all. And he causes that chaos. You were right, flicking it back over. What was he trying to do? And it's that style of play which won't endear himself to Rangers fans. It's not Hollywood, and it's that kind of, flicking it over and all that. He causes that himself. So that's a major frustration for me. But the trusty one is inexplicable. Jack Butland's got it. Jack Butland puts his face on it to cover down because he knows maybe he's protecting himself, and he actually rakes his foot right down him. And he can see what he's doing. It's deliberate. It's dangerous play. He's kicked him in the head, and it's a yellow card. And I found some of the decision making today pretty extraordinary. In the first half, the amount of times that players were yanked back by Celtic players and no cards were given, and then those same players would go on and commit fouls that would become cautionable in the second half. Anthony Ralston, Maeda, they were clear ones. And when it comes to Nick Walsh's decision making, that's a huge question mark for me. VAR not getting involved and not telling him to go at the monitor for serious foul play as well, endangering an opponent, is pretty big for me as well. So it's a red card. It is.
But also then when Rangers do get that penalty and they get back into the game, I thought Mike Hamer was really bright from the bench.
Really good.
I thought Jeji Gassama was bright from the bench. And again, what Rangers lacked for me in that first period, it wasn't just legs to take them up the pitch, but it was legs to keep the Celtic defence pinned back a bit. Because I think what you saw with Scales and Trusty was they could press really far forward because they knew neither Asgard nor Chermiti nor Danilo were going to run in behind. The only real threat to run in behind was Jaden Mangoma, and he too often was pushed all the way back, was pinned back. Rangers do find a way back into that game through Jeji Gassama. Anthony Ralston doesn't see a second yellow card. My understanding is that double jeopardy and that a player can't be sent off and a penalty given at the same time only comes into play if it's a straight red. Is that right? And again, that's another huge moment because I think Rangers have the ascendancy there going into extra time. The legs get away from them. You're right, Celtic had a lot of opportunities, and Butland makes an error for me for McGregor's strike, but he made a lot of good saves throughout the game too. But I think it should have been 10 against 10 in extra time.
Well, it should have been 10 against 10 already. Yeah. But the Ralston one to me is kind of, again, I find it confusing. If we're giving it for deliberate handball, it's a cautionable offence. He's dived over to block the ball. So if it's deemed enough for that to have happened, it's got to be a caution. Not every foul and all that is a caution, I get that. But that is clear, letter of the law, deliberate handball. It can't be an accidental handball for it to become a penalty. So why is it not a second yellow? It's a huge moment again. Because you're right, Rangers do have the weirdly, Rangers do have the ascendancy with 10 men. The crowd get really behind them and they start to get momentum. They start to try and bombard the box without creating much. There was a few chances it went wide. And then they get the penalty and it has to be evened up. And it isn't. And you can see the frustration on Nico Raskin and James Tavernier constantly talking to the referee throughout the game. And another one by Maeda, kicks Diamandi chest high. And if we're talking about serious foul play for Asgard, there's questions there as well. And it's just, I can't help but feel that we're talking about things that we should be focusing on Rangers today and talking about our performance and about how we did blow it and how we've missed chances because we missed big chances, even at 2-1 down.
Yeah.
Gassama goes clean through in 10 minutes of the extra time first half and he misses. Gassama goes clean through in 70 minutes and misses. We've got to have big moments and we didn't take our biggest moments. The blame today is on Rangers. The blame today is Rangers lost it because of Rangers' performance in the first half. And then they going down to 10 men meant that it was always likely that Celtic would swamp them. And they were getting overloads. They had spare. Rangers were just trying to double up in the box. And I get it all, I understand it all. But we're also talking about big decisions, again at Hampden, that don't go the way of Rangers, which should. And that is a huge frustration for me because it's just continuing all the time. And that's something that Rangers need to fix. Their own performance, absolutely. Can't keep happening when we come to Hampden that these things are continuing.
Outside of that Rangers performance, we kind of touched on it at the start. But for me, I wonder to what extent Danny Rule wanted his players to be more aggressive, and I think he would have, because I don't think he'd have picked that team to sit around the box because it didn't have any pace to break away up the pitch. But again, Stevie, it reminded me a little bit of Michael Beale's second Old Firm, but the League Cup final here, where Rangers were too negative, effectively, sat off the game too much, went 2-0 down by the time they really got into it. the difference is this is a much worse Celtic team who were there to press more aggressively, and Rangers still missed those chances, even though it was 10 against 11. Now, as you say, Celtic at the bar through James Forrest. Jack Button does a number of saves. Callum Osman goes through one-on-one. So it was a chaotic kind of end-to-end game right throughout. Just on the big picture, what does it mean for Danny Rule? Because a lot of his predecessors haven't started well against Celtic, and they've kind of caught up too late. Do you think he made mistakes with his starting 11? Because I think, like a lot of people were saying pre-match, it didn't feel like the right call to not have Jeji Kasama in that team, even if he did miss those opportunities. Having more ball carriers and having more dribblers, I thought, made Rangers look better in what was an end-to-end kind of 90, 120 minutes.
Yeah, we can question the selection. We can say that your fear beforehand was pretty much spot on. I don't think Danilo played well. I don't think he got in the game. Yeah, he does. He does.
I agree with you.
I don't think he gets into it enough. I think he becomes more like a defensive-sided forward than an attacking-sided forward. Chermiti ends up sitting deep on McGregor, so the centre-halves have got loads of time, and we just don't. We can't get our own game. We can't get our performance, and that's obviously a huge issue. And I just think from a Danny Rule point of view, nothing's really changed for me. This squad isn't good enough. It doesn't have a spine in the team. It doesn't have a 6. It doesn't have a centre back where you can go to a 4 and be comfortable, and that's why we've not done it today. We can't go 4 because we're ruthlessly exposed like we would where we are in Bran. Did he get it right up front? I'm not sure he did, and we can say that now in hindsight. I wasn't sure beforehand. I think Asgard has got a lot to do in a Rangers jersey. He's not shown it. He's shown it in 145 minutes so far, and that's not been enough. Jeji Kasama has been pretty off it recently. I don't think he's been able to influence, but he's a young kid, so that's not going to come all the time. But from a Rangers point of view, and Danny Rule, would he look at himself? He probably will. But what we did gain and what we have gained under Danny Rule is that second half, is that desire, is that fight, is that determination, which we haven't been seeing. Danny Rule needs to get players in. The squad doesn't suddenly become magic because it beats Kilmarnock and Hibs. And I think today kind of just summed that up.
Yeah.
From that point of view, Rangers need action in January. Nothing really changes. It's a missed opportunity today because they had the opportunity to flip the narrative, and everybody will again just say, well, it's back to doom and gloom, because Rangers is the only one that could control that. That's the issue. So it's a missed opportunity, and they've shot themselves in the foot with missed chances and defensive moments. I think a few of the performances out there were really poor. I think Chermiti, again, for that amount of money, big moments, not in a good way.
Yeah.
I think too many in midfield, again, not getting there, given too much to do perhaps, too much covering, too much to do. We do lack a 6. We lack a spine of the team that's solid. Yeah, and there's lots of options up front. Is there any good ones? Are we putting 3 at the back? Sorry, just one second. You said about putting 3 at the back because he doesn't trust them, so it's like putting the 3 in there to kind of cover for each other. We're having to put 2 up front to cover for each other as well, and that's why January is as difficult a window is so key, to get experience and to get guys in there that are going to change. We bought Majowski, and so far he looks a complete misfit into what we are doing. Rangers need to get it right. So from a Danny Rule point of view, there's real positives in how you can get them and galvanise them in spirit and everything else, and how he got them back into the game to go to 1-1. The selection now in hindsight, I think you made a very valid point.
Yeah, and that's the bigger picture for me, because big picture for me, Stevie, Rangers haven't been the crisis club in Glasgow this week, but it's inexcusable that they have remained there for so long, in my opinion, and they, even when Celtic have been weak, Rangers have not been strong enough to capitalise upon that. I think that's the big story, because you're right, you look at the squad. Now, Celtic, don't get me wrong, they've had their fair share of recruitment misses, but both Callum Osmond and Johnny Kenny made a bigger impact than Yusuf Chermiti today, and this is why, when you spend this much money...
And Bojan Majowski.
I agree, and Bojan Majowski. I don't think that striking position is stronger than it was last season. I look right across that Rangers team and I question how many positions are stronger than last season's squad, which wasn't a great squad, by the way. So that is the issue for me. I think in a way a lot of Hearts being at the top of the league has clouded the fact that it's not been Rangers who've been the team who've been able to capitalise upon Celtic's moment of weakness. And That's a big issue, and I think a big error that Danny Rule inherits instead of it having created. Anything else you want to say? Anything else to get off your chest before we go?
No, I think it's just Rangers need better players. Right, I think that's clear. Despite the team, they are weak throughout that team. So need better players, and they need decisive players. Big moments today, clear-cut moments. Raskin, Chermiti, Gassama twice. These are like one-on-ones. Like all in big moments.
They had 3 or 4 one-on-ones today.
Yeah, big moments. And we said it beforehand. Remember we said they have to make sure that Rangers decide this game. And unfortunately, Rangers did decide the game and not in a positive way. Referee stuff is absolutely clear, and huge moments didn't go in Rangers' favour. I understand that. But focusing on ourselves, which we should do, we've contrived to not only beat ourselves, but to hand Celtic, the impetus. And by the way, Celtic were good today. I thought they were very strong. I thought they created lots of opportunities, and we don't like saying that. They looked a wee bit more like themselves. Rangers didn't cope with that, and that disappoints me. The 3 at the back ended up a 5. We ended up very negative, and we ended up very camped in, and we couldn't get out, and there was no ball carriers and things, and that was a big issue. So Rangers, for me, caused their issues, but there's just a frustration that every single time, and I talked about in my article this morning, was based on this. Every time we get a wee bit of light, and we think, right, okay, are they starting to go round the corner? We come here and we do this. And until this team gets the right players and gets the right mentality in there that they can come here and win games like this, it's just deja vu.
You're right, because to be the dominant team, you need to seize the initiative and seize the momentum. And I thought today was a story of Rangers handing over the momentum when they should have made it uncomfortable for Celtic from the start. That allowed Celtic to get a foothold in that game, and the odds were stacked against Rangers in extra time, but a lot of them were also created by Danny Rule's men. It was too late by the time they got back into it and missed too many chances. Listen, we'll leave it there. We'll of course be we'll be back right across the week on the Rangers review. Roma in midweek, and then I think Dundee at the weekend. But the top line here, Rangers suffer a disappointing and a costly defeat against Celtic in the Premier Sports Cup semi-final in Danny Rule's second defeat in charge. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.